Welcome to the podcast of Terrace Consulting.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the Terrace Consulting Podcast, episode 102 of this series of interviews with top professionals from the hospitality industry. I have the pleasure of having me today, Emily Goldfischer, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of Hertelier. She's going to tell us more about that platform in a second. She has a great career within the hospitality industry in different countries, different roles, and focusing now, as I was saying, on the empowering females in the sector. Emily, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's really such an honor to be included amongst the many people that you've interviewed. Congratulations on your award. So amazing.
Well, thank you. And congratulations to you to be also on that list of the top influential or social influencers in the hospitality industry. That's why I reached out to you, and then I discovered what you do, which obviously I'm going to ask you about, so you can spread the word, and which I think is very, very interesting topic. So recapping, usually the way I start interviews is asking the guests to talk about their career. So in your case, almost 30 years in the industry, focus on public relations, networking, and lately, as I was saying, founder and editor-in-chief of Hertelier, a female-focused online media platform. So can you share that professional evolution, the main milestones of your career?
Yeah, I went to Cornell University and I studied hotel management, and I loved going to Cornell, and the hotel school was amazing. And I had picked it because I really was interested in business. And so I love the program. It's a very, it's a small environment in a big university. So it's a lot of fun. And they really have an excellent program to teach you all about the different areas of hospitality. And I actually studied real estate finance when I was at Cornell. So I'm not sure how I ended up going into PR. But basically, when I graduated, I was sort of looking around and I saw a listing for PR, and I actually didn't even know what it was. But I liked that it was very project oriented, and so I ended up going to work for a firm that specialized in travel public relations. And I worked, and it was so fun. I loved it. It was writing, it was planning events, it was coming up with strategy. And really at the heart of it, I love news, and I love reading the news, and I love seeing what's, the public mindset of, where business is going, what, customer relations and, just consumer trends. I just love all of that and following it and seeing what might be next. So I just really loved it. And I stayed there, and my clients ranged from, Grenada and the Caribbean to Hyatt Resorts. And I did take a break to go back to school. And I actually came here to London. I went to the London School of Economics and I studied social psychology. And then I went back to New York, and I went back to the same firm, and I was working with them more and mainly doing Hyatt Resorts. And then I ended up taking a job in-house with Lowe's Hotels. So after working on many different clients, decided to go work for one brand, Lowe's Hotels, which is an amazing company. I stayed there for 10 years, and really, I just an incredible organization with many women in top jobs. And John Tisch at the time, he's the chairman now, but he was the CEO then. And got to work closely with him on communication strategy and branding. And it was just, we opened up about 10 different hotels. This was at the time. Lowe's was doing a lot in Orlando. So it was a great job. And I loved the work, and actually the marketing team there, I'm so friendly with most of them. And Charlotte St. Martin was, the head of marketing and sales. And at the time we launched the Lowe's Loves Pets program. We came up with programs for families. It was so much fun. I loved it. And then, my husband, he works in banking, and he was offered a job to move to London. And my kids were quite young at the time. They were 4 and 6. And we thought, oh, what a great adventure. And even though I loved working at Lowe's so much, we thought, let's come move to London. And we thought we were just going to be here for a year or two. And it's been we actually moved in 2010, so we're going on 11 years, almost 12 years. And then from there, basically, when we got to London, I had to get my family settled, and I started working for Questix, writing about London hotels and hotels around Europe, which was great. And it really kept my hand in the business and keeping a pulse of what was going on in the industry.
And then up to your current role in Hertelier.
Yeah, and so I've been doing that, and then the pandemic hit. I mean, my kids are now teenagers. My daughter actually is going to be going to Cornell in the fall to study hotel management, and and so over the pandemic, it was just one of these things where I was like, I had been noticing over the last 5 or so years that the industry was starting to change. There were women that were, my contemporaries, and then, like my boss's contemporaries that had really put their time in and were starting to get into some of the top jobs that women hadn't had before. And, the hotel industry, particularly in hotel management and the financial end of it, really didn't have a lot of women. Even when I was in college, there weren't necessarily women I could look to as role models to see how the career path might look. And representation really matters. There's power in women and girls seeing themselves reflected in diverse roles. So that's kind of how Hertelier came about. Is like I noticed that women were starting to organize themselves, that they were creating networking groups, that they were doing mentoring. And as a journalist, I was like, there's not really a place, if I'm the woman, like, where do I go to find all this information in a centralized way? The research, the job opportunities, to learn more about the potential career paths. So I thought to myself, this is the pandemic. If nobody's traveling, travel will come back. And if I'm ever going to start my own website, this is the time. And I did that. So here we are. It's been a year and it's been amazing. I mean, we've done over 150 women working in all different areas of the lodging sector. I found them all different ways. Of course, having worked in the industry for so many years, I had a lot of contacts from my days at Lowe's, from working in PR, from being a journalist. So I definitely started that way, but now it's just become its own community. I mean, it's been amazing how the feedback that I've been getting about the different profiles and how people love reading them. They like, then also having connected some of the different women that I've profiled that do complementary roles. So that's just been really gratifying and things that I didn't expect. So when you start something new, you go in with certain ideas, but then there's always things that surprise you, and just the connections and just the reaction of how everyone has really just embraced the site, and it's just kind of taken off.
No, which is great, of course.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I would say that there has really been about 4 or 5 themes that have come out off of these 150 or more than 150 stories. But women are so collaborative and they're so creative. And so, just things like using tech to solve industry challenges. We profiled a woman who came up with like a QR code based tipping app. We profiled a head of housekeeping who's now using, app-based technology to run her housekeeping department more efficiently. I've also seen there's amazing groups of women, particularly women of color, who have organized themselves to learn more about hotel ownership, and they've created learning platforms for other women to get into hotel ownership, which has just been incredible to see. There's also women have been amazing about spearheading sustainability efforts. I mean, here in England, the hotel of the year as like the most sustainable hotel is this woman, Sue Williams, and she has come up with all these measurable ways to make her hotel extremely sustainable. It's also a luxury hotel, so she's also proved that, you know, you don't have to sacrifice luxury to be sustainable. And the amazing thing is, like, she's literally shared or happy to share every single thing that she's done. So, you know, she just wants to kind of lift everyone along with her into this, you know, new area of sustainability. And I think the other big theme that we're seeing is in the food and beverage sector, that there's kind of this, you know, that's still very heavily male and, you know, traditionally been quite macho. But, you know, women are making progress in those areas too. We've profiled sommeliers, bartenders, head chef. Four Seasons has a head chef in their new downtown hotel. So yeah, it's been incredible to see all this change. And really gratifying.
Okay, thanks for the review of the current scenario. Which no, I'm going to ask you more about. Just want to go one step back, focusing on the early in your career public relations, because for an outsider, never working in public relations in my life, I don't think that role is really understood. Obviously,
yeah, you know what? That is a great question, because not only did people, you know, I think it's one of those kind of mysterious careers, but also it's changed so much in the last 20 years. But basically, when I first started working in public relations, it was writing press releases and dealing with journalists. And in travel public relations, it was organizing groups of journalists to go visit a hotel, experience it, and then write about it, or to cover the opening of a new hotel or a new program. And now with social media, that's all fallen into public relations. So public relations is actually a really vital, I mean, it's always been important, but now it's a really vital part of running a business and running a hotel, because so much of consumer behavior now is influenced by, you know, TikTok and Instagram. And in fact, I just read about a new company, and of course, I'm not going to remember the name of it. I think it was called City, where they've basically come up with a way to track exactly, like, if an influencer goes to your hotel, they can stay, then they can give their followers, they cover your property, then they can give their followers a specific code, and the code can be traced all the way. So you can actually see how much revenue each, you know, thing that you do through public relations and social media actually brings to the bottom line. Whereas when I first started in the industry, it was like, yes, you could see the clips, you could see the articles, and sometimes you could maybe make a correlation of like, oh, we got a story in the New York Times, and then we got a bunch of bookings from New York. But now they can literally track it, which is incredible.
Oh, I didn't know about that, because sometimes I speak with hoteliers and they question that the return on investment of giving a free night or free stay, you know, to an influencer, and what would be. But I mean, knowing what you say now, that there is a way to track it, that's brilliant in that sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just found out about that company, but I think that it is evolving. And you know, look, I'm sure when you talk to hotel managers, they talk about, you know, working with the OTAs, and, you know, they take a big piece. So I guess if there's a way now through public relations and working with influencers and social media to try and, you know, circumvent that a bit, I'm sure, you know, anything that can help a hotelier have more control and a closer relationship to the customer, I think, is a great thing.
That's a very good point. If the OTA is taking 15-20% commission, you know, at the end of the day, whatever costs you to have the influencer in your property, you know, it's not that much. That's a very good point of view. Yeah. Now, going into the Hertelier, focusing on that. I mean, hospitality historically has been an industry filled with female professionals in many different departments. You were mentioning, for example, in F&B there missed. So what is in your eyes that extra support needed for females to progress even further into the management roles?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that historically, if we look back at hotels, some of the challenges that women in particular have had is that, working in hotel management and operations, the hours can be very long and demanding and, somewhat antisocial if you have to work on the weekends, whatever. So if women are the primary caregivers to children, that becomes really challenging. And then also, I'd say the other challenge with, or one of the other challenges is that, to move up the ladder in the hotel business, you have to be willing to relocate, which is also hard if you have a family or if you have a spouse with a career. And, I think that, those two things. And then you could make a case historically for hospitality, like real estate or finance, that, women couldn't even in the US get have a bank account until 1974. So like this kind of thing historically has taken some time. But what I think is happening now is that, because of the pandemic, but even before that, hotels were realizing that women are really naturally quite suited to hospitality. They're very caring, and they're very good at managing businesses. And they're looking at ways that they can make hospitality more accommodating for women. So, whether that's shorter hours, is it's combining with working from home. I mean, to bring back again the example of this woman in housekeeping, she's just cut her hours. She said, people, they can work whatever shift they want to work. I mean, that's an entry-level job, but I think that that's going to trickle upwards, where there's just going to be more flexibility in scheduling to attract more women. And I think, the relocation piece of it, where, let's say you've already moved up, but then to get to the next spot, you have to move somewhere else and you do have a partner. I think that now with technology and people being able to work remotely, it might not be as much of a hardship to have a spouse or a partner move with you because they can just work remotely. So I think some of these challenges are falling away because of technology. I think that the industry is more aware of all that women contribute and to get them more to the top, because, I think there's been a number of studies, Lean In, McKinsey, that basically more diverse companies actually are more profitable. And I think what's amazing about the pandemic is that it's really going to be a reset. And I think we're going to see a big change over the next few years. And also because of the labor shortage, companies are just going to have to get more creative to make it happen.
No, absolutely. I mean, you speak with hundreds of women, female, and you said yourself that they network with each other already in the platform. So it's not they directly go to you, but they have the forums and interact. When you have the communication with them, do you feel that it's enough being done? Companies, regardless of their size, big or small, do they have good plans in place to improve the growth of the females, or there's still something missing that you think should be implemented?
I think that definitely all across the industry, companies, they're really trying. I mean, I do think that everybody's really trying, but I think it takes some time to figure out what can work, how it can work. It's going to be trial and error. I mean, right now across the board, you're dealing with labor shortages, which just puts extra pressure on everything. You're also dealing with these supply chain issues. So all that kind of plays into the end game of profitability and smoothness of operation. But I do think that we will see companies doing more things, whether it's offering daycare, if it's offering special shorter shifts. Yeah, I saw, was it 2 weeks ago, I think Hilton announced a big program where they're including education. So companies are trying to do the things that they think employees are going to value, and also that are going to help them grow and mature in their careers. So I do think that change is afoot. and yeah, and that the company, that it's going to happen. It is going to happen. And the more that we keep talking about it, and the more that we showcase women doing different things, it does spread the ideas. It gives people a path to get to a more diverse company.
Okay. And as you were saying before, and that study shows like more enriched company because of the having more females on senior roles. Historically, you were saying before, FMB, for example, we mentioned one area where there were that many females because of the hours and the sort of conditions. Any other area, any other department within hospitality that they're still missing females on the senior roles?
Well, I mean, percentage wise, it's, we're not there yet. I would say that, it's a movement towards that. We're moving towards that. I mean, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Castell project, but they have been tracking the movement of female in hospitality leadership for the last 5 years. And they just released new data 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I mean, there's more women going into brokerage. There's more women getting to become CEOs. And, it just, I think some things just take time, but I definitely feel like there's a heightened awareness of getting more women into various jobs. And this kind of female fueled movement is starting to gain momentum. And I think that, as the industry resets, it's just going to be more inclusive overall. I mean, one of our most popular stories actually was a story about Valerie Ferguson, who was actually the first Black female hotel general manager for Hyatt back in the 1980s. And she now runs the high-end resorts for Disney. And she actually has an amazing quote that I like to say that I steal from her. But, she says that the face of hospitality should come in many shades, because seeing people that look like you automatically makes you feel more welcome as you enter a hotel. So I really think that, that's kind of the end goal.
Very good point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. True. To feel more welcome, as you're saying. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned about the shortage of talent, which is affecting the industry globally, especially in the US, the big resignation, as it was called. The UK also, there is a challenge fulfilling certain roles. Do you think is it easier for female or maybe more difficult to go back into hospitality, or are they leaving the industry in high numbers of males?
I think in general, here in the UK and in the US, there's a movement now to change the perception of careers in hospitality in general. Here in the UK, there's this amazing organization actually started by a woman, Sally. So it's called Hoteliers Charter. And basically she's now taking, having hotels partner with local schools to go in there and talk about what a career in hospitality really means, because, what you see on TV when they look at restaurants or, is like a lot of shouting and cursing and, abusive environments, but actually that's not the reality of working in a hotel or in a kitchen today. It's changing, and we need to show young people and their parents that a career in hospitality can mean moving around the world, seeing, different cultures, working in different cultures. And then, depending on what you want to do, if you're really into finance, or if you're very creative, or if you, they say about hospitality is that it's different. Every single day is different, particularly if you work in operations, and, that attracts a certain kind of personality, and there's really nothing like it. And in fact, as you've seen people who have left during the pandemic to go down their industries, we're now starting to see people coming back because they just really like the energy that you get from working in the hospitality.
To inspire them, which actually that's the last question I want to ask you, is that because the same as there is a shortage of talent, the shift, the change on the approach from many professionals, there is also a shortage of people getting into hospitality. So I was speaking with schools and universities and colleges, and the numbers of people not graduating, but getting into hospitality studies has gone down a lot in the last couple of years. So as a last message from your side, what would you tell those, not girls, but I mean teenagers, 18, 19, thinking about going to college, that will make hospitality appealing for them? So how to attract the young talent into our industry?
I mean, it's a field where you can, it's literally like the world is your oyster. You can, travel, you can, inspire people to do different things in terms of like whether or not you like finance, if you like marketing, if you like, dealing with people. It's an amazing industry for that, for just being around people. And I think it's understandable that people maybe were scared off during the pandemic and without, the ability to travel. But as soon as things got better, it's like the demand has just gone through the roof. We're still waiting for business travel to come back, but travel, responsible travel as we look to the future and with sustainability in mind, it's here to stay. And I think it is a great career for women. Just that it's fun. It's just really fun.
Okay. Thank you very much, Emily, for all the insights. I was taking notes about the names of the people you mentioned. Obviously, it's recorded, so the listeners can go through them, those platforms, and professionals that you've been mentioning. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Sally's last name is Beck, actually, Sally Beck, and she runs the Lancaster Hotel here in London. And this program, Hertelier's Charter, that she's put together is amazing. Literally just partnering different hotels with schools to show young people what it's like. And she said they come into the hotels and they have a great time, and then they're definitely on the road. They're really interested in having a career in hospitality after getting a taste of it.
No, it's great to open the doors. I mean, get that connection, because sometimes there's a big gap between studies and professional world. So it's a great idea to get them to have that approach.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to have me on your show. I'm really it was so nice to be able to do this with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily Goldfischer, founder and editor-in-chief of Hertelier, a female-focused online media platform. Thanks again. Speak soon.
That was all for now. Hope you found it useful. Remember that you have more information on our website, www.torresconsulting.co.uk, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and Twitter. Stay well. Goodbye for now.